Hi, welcome back to segment 2. We're going to talk a little bit about renters and how you register renters or tenants and why it's so important. These people are part of our community. They may not be owners and maybe they can't vote and maybe they don't come to our meetings, but they are part of our community.
An important part.
A very important part.
Absolutely.
And when you register someone who's leasing a home, what does that do? Well, they go to the office probably and they get to meet the community manager. And all of a sudden they can put a face to the community. So if there is a problem or they do have a question, they won't feel intimidated by calling that person and finding out what the answer is.
That's really true. I mean, all of the tenants are important. Making sure they're on the newsletter, make sure they have copies of all the forms, the CC&Rs. They're supposed to get it from the real estate agent when they buy into your community. But it's always good to check. And if you have tenants who are allowed to come to like a common facility and they come in to register, to make them feel really special. Like, oh, we're so glad to see you, welcome here. Like we have cards that we actually take pictures and so forth to come in, and we always joke around with them and, make them feel part of it. By just giving them the card, it makes them feel like they belong now to something, in the community. Because sometimes they think they feel isolated. They really don't feel like, okay, I'm an equal when it comes to the community. So these things are important. Ultimately, though, the owner of the property is going to be responsible for the property.
Exactly.
They can't shirk their responsibility. They are the owner. And sometimes that gets a little confusing, because I'm a tenant, I live here, I'm here every day. I should be the one involved, I should be the one informed. But yet we have legal responsibilities to the owner. And the owner is really important to take on that responsibility and pass down to their tenants anything that's really important to know. Because remember, the owner's got the voting rights, and they're the decision making, and they're part of the laws.
Well, you were talking about the little card. A lot of communities, when they have a community pool or a recreation, you have to show identification maybe when you go in there. And once you register your tenant, then they'll know that they're supposed to have this card. And like you say, they will have their picture taken, and they'll know they have to have this card on them anytime they're using the facilities.
And it's so simple. I mean, whenever you make up a list of owners or you're sending something out, you just consciously be aware of tenants. And I think that's part of communication.
And be friendly.
Yeah, it's that friendly. It's that reaching out. It's that welcoming nature. It's really important. And it's always good to keep the list up to date. There's nothing like sending out information to people that no longer live there. So when they do leave, you got to deactivate. The tenant list, and then you have to change it and add it on. It's really important that someone be responsible for keeping that accurate. Because when you get something in the mail, you want it to be your name, not just your address.
Exactly. And a lot of communities are gated, and people have access to the gates if they're no longer living in the community or they decide to move someplace else. Like you say, you have to have those lists up to date because you want to deactivate those particular codes.
Yeah, and there are concerns, if you have gates especially, that people could get in that no longer live there. So that deactivation is just as important as I think the welcoming, to keep the list really fresh and accurate all the way through.
But how to have a good neighbor and a happy neighbor is make them feel welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when they go to register and they have to give you their license plate number, just let them know this isn't something that's a bad thing, it's a good thing. That way, if you have a community security problem, they know those cars belong there. They don't think it's something else. You just need to be proactive, be friendly, and make sure that you welcome everybody into your community.
I agree. One of the things, too, that I think are important is HOA should do some surveys or focus groups or something once in a while to ask people, what is it that we can do better, or what is it that you might want? Now, there's some risk here. Because when you ask people for information, you're going to get answers. And sometimes the answers that you get can be more of the negative nature. People who want to complain about something make more of an effort to write back than the people who want to be positive. Oh, I have nothing to say because everything is great and everything's going along pretty well. So it's really important. And when you involve people, you've got to respond back to them. If you ask for a survey and ask for opinions and you tally them, you should publish that in your newsletter. Or if you're able to act, as a board maybe would act on something, if they say, we would need a welcome event, we need this, we need that, or we'd like to see a library, whatever it is, to respond back to the people and say, in the survey, these were some of the really top information that came through, the most important to the homeowners, and this is the action we take. Or you have to be very clear that, well, there's sometimes we can't do things. It might be money.
Exactly, exactly.
You can't, put in every person's idea. Believe it or not, people write down recommendations that are against the rules. Those CCNRs are still our Bible.
Exactly.
What goes on and what we're allowed to do and so forth. So these are some of the things that we have to really be careful. Now, when you can't do something, I think it's just as important that we publish that.
Exactly.
What's the good reason? Why is it that we can't do those things?
And we should do that, because when people respond, let's say you have a Survey Monkey where you're going to send out an email blast to the community. What would you like to see us do in this upcoming year? You might get some really good ideas. You might get some interesting ideas that you might not want to use.
You always get some of those.
But, like you say, respond. I'm in receipt of your email. Or, yes, we got your Survey Monkey back. Thank you very much for participating.
Survey Monkey. What's that?
Well,
I'm not used to that term. It sounds really interesting.
It's a way of sending out a survey through email.
Oh, email survey.
And a way for people to respond.
Okay.
To simplify it, but you're right. It's really important. If you want people to be involved in your community, you want community spirit. If you don't respond to them when they respond to you, they're going to get frustrated.
Yeah, I think once in a while too, it's nice to have an incentive. Like if somebody comes up with a great idea, to give them credit. Put their name, positive, even that picture again in the newsletter. Any way you can reinforce the positive nature of people being involved. And I've heard of a community where they go out and they get, little gift certificates or something from a local merchant or a casino or something that they can give back. Say, we want to really thank you for your idea. It's a great idea. Here's a little token of our appreciation. That goes a long way.
It does. We did a survey several years ago asking the people who live in our community what they would like to see around holiday time, and they wanted a house decorating contest. And we had over 200 people in our newsletter who had decorated their homes and who got some sort of awards or certificates.
Yeah.
And guess what? The next year, we had more people.
That's great.
And the year after that, even more
building
people.
Concept.
It is.
It may not be the best the first time. Keep doing it.
Exactly.
That's one of the themes that we want to do. The last part that when we try to seek out information, did you ever do anything with a focus group? Like you find a group of people who might be interested, and I'll give you an idea. Like we have people who like to go places, travel, and believe it or not, we had a travel agent as a resident, and she took it upon herself to start in the newsletter putting in travel ideas. And it became like a focus group, and we had a night where everybody came together, and they generated a list of places they wanted to go, and it helped the people, one, meet each other who like to travel, and secondly, they came up with, some of the trips were really easy, like Red Rock or the Neon Graveyard or something local, and they've built up to an overnight trip to LA. Where this person...
It sounds like fun.
Yeah, they led
and I
the
think
whole
we
group.
do have some examples later on in our last segment of some of these things that other communities have done and been successful with.
Yeah. The only thing I would say to you, if you're going to do a group that is specialized, for example, you say a knitting club. Okay, I wouldn't have all the men in the community decide whether or not it's a good idea. So when you pick your focus group, make sure you pick the people that you're really targeting.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because if you want something to fail, you ask the wrong people.
If you want a babysitting club or something, you don't go to people who don't have small children.
Exactly.
But communication is the key. Communication is so important, and I can't stress this enough. The more you communicate, the better results you're going to have.
Yeah, that's very true. One of the other things, it's not really a focus group, and sometimes you don't even want them, but they create a group, is when you do something new. Okay? I'll give you a good example. The city of Henderson put in a recycling program.
I remember that.
Do you remember that? Yeah,
I do.
And there was a whole lot of misunderstanding. Well, we didn't want the focus group, but we had quite a large number of angry homeowners because they believed that they were being forced to recycle. They also believe, now I know this is going to be hard for you to understand, they thought the board of directors were mandating it,
Right.
that everyone in the community had to do it. Of course, the board of directors had no choice. It was a citywide program that was started. And again, there's where the communication is so important. When you talk to your people and you communicate with the people and they know what things are happening, there's a lot better understanding. Sometimes things get away from you where it comes out in the newspaper first and it becomes really negative, and some people take it up as a banner, you know, we're going to fight this, and they don't have all the facts. And I think it's our job as community leaders to make sure that our homeowners have the facts.
Well, that's where communication is key.
Absolutely.
Communicate, communicate. You know, one of the things that one community did, they were going to have a community garden. And they had this area that was not very attractive. And the lady that had started it moved away, and it just fell in disrepair. And what happened was they were going to get rid of it and just rock it. And some of the homeowners said, you know what, we don't want that. We want our
Yeah.
community garden back.
Yeah.
So what they did was they put something in the newsletter and the website, and they had a handful of people come the first time. And when the pictures of the community garden went into the newsletter, other people said, well, you know,
Right.
I'd like to grow basil and spinach and
Sure.
Swiss chard. And before you know it, they had their community garden back. And you know why? Because it was a communication thing.
Well, I mean, you have all kinds of things. You have holiday decorating contests, and we're
yeah.
going to talk specifically about what some specific HOAs did with that, because it's always hard getting it started and so forth. But you can do something really simple. There are people who love to walk.
Yes.
You could do a morning walk group, an evening walk group, and it's just natural for people to say, oh, well, you know, I'd rather walk with people than alone.
Exactly.
You know, because instead of putting all those headphones on and acting like the world isn't there, it's so much better to interact. I find it so much easier when you're talking with somebody to walk.
Well,
I'm not an exercise nut, as you could probably tell. So it's important to me to have a little fun while I'm doing it.
But you have, you know, young people who want to walk with their babies in strollers. You have people who want to walk with their dogs. You have people that want to walk with each other. It's a great way to meet and talk to people.
Sure. Again, letting people know what's available.
Exactly.
Communication. That's just so important.
Communication is key. I can't say it enough.
Yep. Well, I guess now we want to talk a little bit more about how we get certain events started and forming committees and so forth. So let's go on to some of those things that are important, different contests and so forth. You were going to talk about this, I think.
Well, I think contests are fun. They really are. Like I said, one community, my community, we had a house decorating contest at holiday time, and people got their names in the newsletter. They got trophies, they got certificates, they got certificates for local restaurants. You know, there's a whole lot of things you can do to have contests and have people get involved.
Yeah. You know what? But I found two things. When you want people to get together, there's two things that they need.
Besides food?
No, that was one. Come on now, we can't ever give up on the food. You got to serve some kind of little snack food, okay, to get people together, whether it's donuts and juice or whether it's just, you know, crackers and cheese. People just love that. That's that automatic social interaction
Right.
Type thing, which is really important. The other thing is more gimmicky, I guess, and that is that sometimes people need to go away with something. They feel like, you know, they have, and you can't always give, you know, a gift to everyone who comes or something like that, but they love raffles.
They
You know,
do.
they really do love raffles. We have a group of people in my HOA that love to make up those gift baskets. They do it, it's fun, they're learning, you know, how to buy the material, how to match it and so forth, and wrap that foil around it, it looks good with the bow, and you know, and that's one of the things they like doing. So very often when we have one of these meetings where we're trying to form things or get people excited, we have a raffle for one of their baskets, which they donate.
And make
it's
sure their
exciting.
name
Their name.
gets in the newsletter, the people that made the basket,
You
the
got
people who won the raffle.
The picture of them getting it
Exactly.
from the
It's
people
so
who made
important.
it.
It's so important.
It's an easy thing to do, inexpensive, but it always works.
It always works.
Yeah, I agree with that too. So we talked a lot about social media
Right.
already, but I don't know, was there anything else that you wanted to focus on in terms of making sure that you maximize social media? So many people are on it. I guess maybe I have to say it this way. This is a prejudice, Donna. It seems like the younger communities are more into social media. When you get to the senior community, some still say that thing, I don't use a computer. Don't tell me about computers. I don't even know what email is. But, you know, so many of our homeowners are really into social media.
They are.
And how important that is.
They really are. They really are. And try and encourage people to come to meetings. You know, meetings can be fun, and they are informative.
Yep, I agree. You know, one of the other things I wanted to bring up is there's a concept that I think is really important, and it's called neighbors assisting neighbors or helping neighbors. In a community, one of the things where people like to get involved, there are people that are very service-oriented, and programs where you involve neighbors helping somebody. If you have elderly people, sometimes they can't maybe change the filter in the ceiling for the fans and the heating and air conditioning, and somebody comes in and does it for them. The simplest thing, changing the light on the outside of your house, or anything that's maybe more physical that people can't do. Programs that are designed to help people creates that interaction again. And I always find when somebody comes in and helps, how appreciative and how they feel they belong and so forth. It's really an important thing as we go through that. And again, the pictures, or we talked about the email blast to say, okay, this service is available. If there's anything we can do to help you, let us know, call this number. That's one of the things that are important, again, so that people know how to get involved helping other people. So, well, I think we covered pretty much all of our segment 2.
So we're going to go to segment 3 now?
We're going to go to segment 3, and we got
Wonderful.
a few more ideas for them to
Terrific.
share. So we'll come back in just another minute.